Let's practice the alphabet in Spanish. Why do you need to know the alphabet? Well, if somebody spells something to you, or if you want to spell something like your name, you need to know the names of the letters. Now, this might seem strange. I know in English we have one way to say the alphabet. The only difference might be that the British, Australians, I think, and Canadians will say Z, and we say Z for the last letter. Other than that, all of the other letters, they have one name. Well, in Spanish, there's a few letters that have a few names. I'm going to go over that. But the first time through, I'm just going to go over giving each letter one name, and then we'll discuss the letters that have a few names. Okay, so let's practice. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, Y, M, N, Ñ, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, so you could follow along with the list of the alphabet to know which pronunciation, which name goes with which letter, but let's talk about the ones that have various ways. So the first one is the B. So the B and the V, as I explained in the other video about the B and the V pronunciation, if you haven't seen that, look for that video. Traditionally they were just called B, both of them. So what people did is they would say for a B, the second letter in the alphabet, they would say B de burro, because most people knew how to spell the word burro, and they knew that it was spelled with a B. They would also call it B larga. I've heard different names depending on the country I'm in. B de burro, B larga. It means long B. Larga doesn't mean large, it means long. It's a false cognate. B larga, long B. B grande, big B. Anything where it's big or long, that's going to be the B, or B de burro. And then I'll just jump right to the V then, because the V can be called B de vaca. B as in cow, because everyone who speaks Spanish, or everyone who writes in Spanish, should know how to spell the word cow. Vaca, V-A-C-A, vaca. But that one can also be called B pequeña, little V, little B. B corta, I think I've heard. B pequeña, B corta, and B de vaca. But the V, I don't know how many years ago, it seemed like out of nowhere and from Colombia they started calling it V, and that's what I said here. It seems like a nice solution to separate it, to not have all this confusion. They came up with V, spelled U-V-E, would be the name of the letter V, V. But I never, for decades before, this seems to have come out in the last, I guess, 20 years. Before that, I had never heard it. Never heard it in studying Spanish in college or high school, ever. So it was kind of a new thing. And the first time I heard it was the name of a bank in Colombia called, they would say, Banco BBVA. BBVA. I'm like, what is this? What do they spell? I could tell they were giving initials, BBVA, but I had never heard of the V. I heard the B. BBVA. So they had to come up with a way to name the bank, because they couldn't just say BBVA or B de burro, B de vaca, They couldn't name each one. They had to separate the names out, the names of the letters out. So they say BBVA, and so it's BBVA. BBVA. It's the name of the bank. It's the initials of the bank. Okay, so the next letter is K. I said K, ka, K is kind of like a foreign letter to their alphabet. They say it, it's in their alphabet, but they don't. It's not naturally used in a lot of Spanish words. They would use the Q or the C to make the K sound, but they still know the letter. The ñ that just has one pronunciation. So let's talk about the W then. The W has a whole bunch of names. I said B doble, so I'm saying like V double. It's kind of backwards from English. But I've also heard W, which sounds more like the order that we say it in English. Double V. If you think about it, a W looks like two V's, not two U's. So you might hear B doble, W, but I've also heard W, W. I've never heard U doble, U double. I've never heard it that way. So yeah, I've heard those three names for W. B doble, W, and W. Now the Y, I said Y because that's the way I've almost always heard it pronounced. But I do hear other people also just call it. So Y, you're actually saying I, Greek. In other words, Greek I. So they call the Y the Greek I. But I've heard other people call it Y. Just Y, spelled Y-E. Or if you pronounce the Y a little bit stronger, depending on what city or country you're from, they might say Y. Y. So this can get confusing, because if somebody's spelling a word out to you, you might hear J, and you're going to be convinced they're saying J, but they're saying Y. Because J, as you know, is in Spanish is Jota. And Y, yeah, that's all of them. So that's all the problem ones. It's basically the B and the V and the W, and the Y sometimes. So practice the alphabet. When you practice it, just practice saying the letters in Spanish. Don't think about them in English. I've seen in a lot of Spanish-speaking countries, they'll teach the alphabet like they already know Spanish, so they're teaching English, the alphabet to them, and they'll say like, A is A. They'll compare it and they'll go back and forth. It's the worst way to teach the alphabet. Don't even think about the alphabet in English. Just look at the letters, you know the symbols, give them their new name.